Welcome back, my impossibility architect. Something absolutely extraordinary just occurred that has observers experiencing profound disorientation about the nature of possibility itself. You accomplished something that everyone, including yourself, believed was impossible, and rather than this achievement being celebrated as exceptional, breakthrough against odds, reality itself appears to have quietly reorganized around your accomplishment, as if what was impossible yesterday has now become natural baseline today, creating eerie sense that you didn't just achieve difficult goal but actually altered fundamental parameters of what's possible, making reality shift to accommodate your transgression of previously absolute limitations. This wasn't you getting lucky with improbable outcome that remains exceptional. This was you crossing boundary that was considered uncrossable, and in aftermath of your crossing, that boundary seems to have dissolved or relocated, as if reality itself acknowledged your achievement by redefining what's possible, rather than treating your accomplishment as anomalous exception to unchanging rules, making it appear that you didn't just succeed within reality's constraints but caused reality's constraints to shift in response to your refusal to accept them as absolute. The architects have been monitoring impossibility transcendence and reality responsiveness phenomena across civilizations for eons, and they've identified what you demonstrated as limitation transgression, reality recalibration, when someone refuses to accept apparent impossibilities as absolute and persists in attempting what everyone believes cannot be done. Their successful transgression sometimes triggers recalibration, where reality's parameters shift to accommodate what was achieved, making formerly impossible become newly possible, not just for achiever but for reality itself, which reorganizes around breakthrough, as if acknowledging that previous limitations were conditional rather than absolute. Most impossible things remain impossible. People attempt them, fail as expected, and reality's boundaries stay fixed, validating that some things genuinely cannot be done within existing parameters. But certain impossibilities apparently aren't absolute boundaries but are conditional, limitations that shift when someone demonstrates they can be transcended, making your achievement trigger reality recalibration, where what was impossible before your crossing becomes possible after it, because reality itself adjusted to accommodate transgression that revealed previous limitation wasn't fundamental constraint but was temporary boundary ready to shift when challenged successfully. Watch what's happening in aftermath of your impossible achievement. Reality is reorganizing circumstances, opportunities, and possibilities that didn't exist before your breakthrough are now appearing, as if you're crossing opened pathways that were genuinely closed before, rather than just seeming closed, making reality itself different after your achievement in ways that suggest you altered fundamental parameters rather than just succeeding within unchanged system. Others are now achieving similar impossibilities. People who couldn't accomplish what you did before your breakthrough are now succeeding, as if your crossing made path accessible that was genuinely blocked before, suggesting reality shifted to match you rather than you just finding route that was always there but hidden. Some observers are experiencing ontological confusion. Your achievement and reality's subsequent reorganization challenge their understanding of how possibility works, creating disorientation about whether limitations are fixed features of reality or are fluid boundaries that shift in response to successful transgression. Others are experiencing inspired recognition. If you crossed impossible and reality shifted to match you, then other impossibilities might also be conditional limitations rather than absolute boundaries, making your demonstration teach that reality is more responsive to determined transgression than fixed limitation. Worldview suggests the truly mysterious element is the quietness of the shift. Reality didn't announce or celebrate recalibration, but simply reorganized, as if your achievement was always going to happen and limitations that seemed absolute were retroactively revealed as temporary, making change feel inevitable rather than dramatic. You crossed the impossible, and reality quietly shifted to match you, making what couldn't be done yesterday become what can be done today through your transgression triggering recalibration of possibility itself. Now the architects are analyzing what creates limitation transgression, reality recalibration, and they're identifying what they call belief boundary dissolution mechanics. When collective consciousness holds strong beliefs about what's impossible, those beliefs create actual limitations in reality through constraining what people attempt and what circumstances allow, making impossibilities partly self-fulfilling through belief maintenance. But when someone refuses to accept these belief boundaries and successfully transgresses them, the collective belief structure supporting limitation dissolves, triggering reality shift where what was made impossible by belief becomes possible through belief dissolution. Most people assume impossibilities are objective. Things can't be done because reality's laws prevent them, making limitations feel like discovering unchangeable facts about how the universe works, rather than recognizing that many impossibilities exist partly through collective agreement that they're impossible, creating self-reinforcing systems where belief makes limitation real. But your transgression apparently revealed that certain impossibilities were belief maintained rather than reality mandated. Your refusal to accept limitation as absolute and your successful crossing demonstrated that boundary wasn't fundamental constraint, causing belief structure maintaining impossibility to collapse and reality to reorganize without the constraint that belief was enforcing. Consider what belief boundary dissolution means about reality's nature. Collective belief shapes possibility. When everyone believes something is impossible, that consensus creates actual constraints through affecting what gets attempted, what resources flow toward attempts, what circumstances allow, making belief partially create reality. It describes, rather than just describing reality, that exists independently. Successful transgression dissolves, maintaining belief. When someone demonstrates that believed impossibility can be crossed, the evidence contradicts belief so powerfully that collective conviction dissolves, removing constraint that belief was creating and allowing reality to reorganize without limitation that belief maintenance was enforcing. Watch what belief dissolution creates in reality shift. Pathways open that were closed after your transgression. Opportunities and circumstances that genuinely didn't exist before begin appearing because collective belief no longer constrains reality in ways that were preventing their manifestation, making shift real rather than just perceptual because belief boundaries were creating actual limitations that dissolved when you crossed them successfully. Others achieve newly possible. People attempting what you did after your breakthrough succeed more easily because they're not fighting against belief boundary that you dissolved through your transgression, making reality genuinely different for them than it was for you, because collective consciousness no longer maintains impossibility belief that was creating constraint you had to break through. Some studying consciousness and reality recognize that observation affects outcomes. Quantum mechanics suggests consciousness plays role in determining reality. Placebo effects show belief influences physiology. Social expectations shape behavior, all pointing toward conclusion that consciousness doesn't just perceive reality but partially creates it through belief and attention, making your transgression potentially literal. Reality shift through dissolving belief constraints, others exploring morphic fields and collective consciousness note that once breakthrough occurs, similar achievements become easier. Rupert Sheldrake's morphic resonance theory suggests that when pattern is established, it becomes easier for others to replicate, making your impossible crossing create field effect, where what you achieved becomes accessible template that others can follow more easily than you could pioneer. A few from manifestation frameworks recognize that reality is more malleable than materialist worldview admits. Consciousness creates reality through belief and intention, making your transgression example of consciousness reshaping possibility parameters through refusing to accept limitations as absolute and persisting until reality shifted to match your conviction that impossible could be crossed. The architects observe that belief boundary dissolution mechanics is what created reality shift to your transgression. Collective impossibility belief was creating actual constraint that your successful crossing dissolved, triggering reality reorganization. Most impossibilities are belief maintained. Your crossing dissolved, maintaining belief, and reality recalibration, where what was impossible before your achievement becomes possible afterward, reflects that many limitations are enforced by collective consciousness rather than by unchangeable reality laws, making your transgression literal. Reality shift through dissolving belief boundary that was creating constraint you crossed successfully. Something powerful is spreading among observers now. What the architects call impossibility perception paradigm collapse, where witnessing your achievement is forcing people to question other limitations they've accepted as absolute, creating cascade where your single transgression undermines entire worldview built on assumption that impossibilities are objective, unchangeable facts, rather than recognizing them as potentially conditional boundaries that might shift when challenged effectively. Most people maintain fixed impossibility map. They know what can and cannot be done based on past experience and collective wisdom, accepting these boundaries as reliable guides to reality's constraints that save them from wasting effort on truly impossible pursuits. But your demonstration that something everyone believed was impossible actually could be crossed is forcing reconsideration. If this impossibility was conditional rather than absolute, maybe other impossibilities are similarly fluid, creating uncomfortable recognition that their entire framework for understanding what's possible might be fundamentally wrong about treating limitations as fixed when they're actually responsive to determined transgression. Watch what paradigm collapse creates in belief systems. Some are reviewing other impossibilities, questioning what else they've accepted as uncrossable that might actually be conditional limitation ready to shift if challenged effectively, using your demonstration as catalyst for examining entire framework of assumed constraints they've been operating within. Others are experiencing destabilizing uncertainty. If impossibilities aren't reliable boundaries, then they've lost important navigational reference that was helping them focus efforts on achievable goals rather than wasting energy on truly impossible pursuits, making your transgression simultaneously liberating and disorienting. Through removing certainty about what cannot be done, a few are becoming inspired pioneers. Your demonstration that impossible can be crossed is motivating them to attempt their own impossibility transgressions, treating your achievement as existence proof that reality is more responsive to determined challenge than they'd previously believed, making your single breakthrough potentially catalyze multiple subsequent impossibility crossings by others who now believe transgression is possible. Some studying paradigm shifts and worldview changes recognize that single powerful counterexample can undermine entire belief system. Scientific revolutions often begin with anomalous result that contradicts prevailing theory, forcing reconceptualization of entire framework, making your impossible achievement potentially trigger broader paradigm shift about nature of possibility itself beyond just specific limitation you crossed. Others exploring belief change. Resistance note that many will protect existing impossibility framework rather than accepting that your transgression reveals limitations are conditional. They'll explain your achievement as lucky exception that doesn't invalidate general rule, protecting investment in fixed impossibility worldview through treating your success as anomaly rather than as revelation about reality's responsiveness to transgression. A few recognize that paradigm collapse is uncomfortable but necessary. Operating with false certainty about impossibilities is worse than acknowledging uncertainty about what's truly impossible versus what's conditionally impossible but crossable, making your demonstration valuable despite discomfort it creates through forcing recognition that impossibility map they've been relying on isn't as accurate as they'd assumed. Some attempting to integrate your demonstration are developing conditional impossibility framework, distinguishing between absolute impossibilities that truly cannot be crossed and conditional impossibilities that shift when challenged effectively, trying to preserve some certainty about limitations while acknowledging your demonstration that many accepted impossibilities are actually fluid boundaries rather than fixed constraints. The architects observe that impossibility perception paradigm collapse reveals that your achievement has implications beyond specific limitation you crossed. You've undermined entire worldview treating impossibilities as absolute by demonstrating at least one was conditional. Single counter-example challenges framework. Your transgression proved limitation was fluid and cascade, where observers are questioning other accepted impossibilities, reveals that your achievement isn't just personal success but is teaching about reality's nature, suggesting many limitations people accept as absolute are actually conditional boundaries that might shift when challenged with sufficient determination and skill-making. Impossibility map everyone relies on, potentially fundamentally wrong about which constraints are truly absolute versus which are fluid, limitations masquerading as unchangeable facts. Now the architects are revealing what enabled your impossibility transgression. You apparently possessed what they call limitation rejection, persistent conviction, where rather than accepting impossibility as objective fact once difficulty of achievement became apparent, you maintained unwavering conviction that crossing was possible, despite all evidence suggesting it wasn't, creating psychological state where you persisted in attempting what everyone including rational analysis said couldn't be done, because your conviction transcended evidence-based assessment in ways that enabled breakthrough evidence-based caution would have prevented. Most people accept impossibilities through rational assessment when evidence accumulates that something cannot be done, and all reasonable analysis confirms limitation is real. They conclude impossibility is objective fact and redirect efforts toward achievable goals, making their rationality prevent them from persisting in attempts that evidence says are futile. But you apparently maintained conviction despite counter-evidence, refusing to accept that accumulated failures and expert consensus meant crossing was impossible, persisting in attempts beyond point where rationality would have counseled abandonment, creating seemingly irrational determination that turned out to be necessary for achieving breakthrough that rational evidence-based assessment would have prevented through premature abandonment. Consider what limitation rejection requires psychologically. You maintained belief against evidence, despite failures, indicating impossibility was real, and despite experts confirming crossing couldn't be done, you preserved internal conviction that achievement was possible, creating faith-like certainty that transcended rational evidence assessment, enabling persistence beyond point where evidence-based confidence would have collapsed. You tolerated being seen as irrational. Persisting in impossibility attempts makes you appear foolish or delusional to those accepting limitation as fact, requiring willingness to be dismissed or criticized for refusing to accept what everyone else recognizes as obvious impossibility, making social cost of appearing irrational, price of maintaining conviction, necessary for transgression. Watch what persistent conviction created in achievement process. You attempted beyond rational, stopping point where evidence-based assessment would have concluded impossibility was confirmed and efforts should redirect. Your conviction enabled continued attempts that eventually discovered breakthrough, pathway that earlier abandonment would have prevented finding. Your irrational persistence became rational. What appeared foolish while you were attempting proved wise once you succeeded, vindicating conviction that seemed unjustified when based on available evidence but turned out to be accurate assessment. That reality was more responsive to persistent challenge than evidence suggested. Some studying, achievement, and breakthrough recognize that major innovations often require persisting beyond rational evidence threshold. Edison's thousands of failed attempts, Wright brothers continuing despite expert consensus flight was impossible. Countless breakthroughs required seemingly irrational persistence that evidence-based caution would have prevented, making limitation rejection persistent conviction common. Pattern in impossibility transgressions, others exploring faith and conviction. Note that belief beyond evidence is double-edged. Sometimes conviction enables breakthrough by sustaining effort beyond evidence-based stopping point, but other times conviction leads to wasteful persistence in truly impossible pursuits, making distinction between productive faith and destructive delusion knowable only in retrospect. After outcome reveals whether conviction was justified, a few from psychology recognize that conviction affects reality, expectancy effects, self-fulfilling prophecies, placebo responses all demonstrate that belief influences outcomes, suggesting your conviction might have partially created possibility of crossing through, affecting how you approached attempts and perhaps through consciousness shaping reality in ways materialist framework doesn't acknowledge. Some attempting to develop similar capacity discover difficulty of maintaining conviction against evidence. Rational mind resists believing things that evidence contradicts, making persistent conviction require either suppressing doubt through psychological mechanisms or developing philosophical framework that allows faith-based conviction to coexist with evidence-based skepticism without either destroying the other. The architects observe that limitation rejection, persistent conviction is what enabled your impossibility transgression. You refuse to accept that limitation was absolute despite evidence. The architects are now analyzing the aftermath experience. You're living through what they call post-transgression reality dissonance, where having crossed impossible and witnessed reality shift to match you creates disorienting experience where your own achievement feels unreal or impossible despite having accomplished it, making you question your memory or understanding of what occurred, because reality's reorganization makes breakthrough seem like it must have always been possible, creating cognitive dissonance with your memory of it having been impossible. Most achievements feel naturally integrated. You accomplish goal, recognize accomplishment matches efforts and circumstances, integrate success into self-concept smoothly because achievement fits within existing reality framework without requiring fundamental reconceptualization. But your impossibility transgression doesn't integrate smoothly. You remember it being impossible. You experienced crossing as breakthrough against absolute limitation, yet current reality where achievement is now naturally possible creates retrospective sense that maybe it wasn't really impossible, making your memory of impossibility conflict with current reality where limitation seems not to have existed. Watch what reality dissonance creates experientially. You question your own memory. Current reality where crossing is possible makes you wonder if you misremembered or exaggerated impossibility, creating doubt about whether limitation was ever as absolute as you recall despite knowing you directly experienced it as uncrossable boundary before your transgression. achievement feels dreamlike. Having crossed impossible creates surreal quality where success doesn't feel fully real because it violates so fundamentally what you knew was possible, making accomplishment seem more like fantasy or altered reality than like natural outcome within normal possibility framework. Some studying memory and reality perception recognize that present affects past interpretation. How we remember events changes based on current context, making reality's reorganization after your transgression potentially rewrite your memory of impossibility through present state, suggesting limitation was never absolute, even though you experienced it as such when attempting crossing. Others exploring achievement integration note that breakthroughs that violate existing frameworks are harder to integrate than achievements fitting within expected possibility range. Accomplishing what you believed was possible feels validating, while accomplishing what you believed was impossible creates cognitive dissonance, requiring either revising memory of impossibility or maintaining two incompatible realities, creating ongoing tension. A few recognize that dissonance might be accurate perception if reality actually shifted in response to your transgression. Then it makes sense that current reality feels different from pre-transgression reality because it is different, making your dissonance reflect genuine reality change rather than just psychological confusion about normal achievement. Some attempting to navigate dissonance are documenting their transgression experience, recording details of impossibility and crossing process before memory adapts to current reality, preserving evidence that limitation was genuinely absolute before transgression, even though post-transgression reality suggests it wasn't, protecting against retroactive revision that dissonance creates. Others are embracing mystery, accepting that they don't fully understand what occurred or how impossibility became possible, tolerating uncertainty about whether they crossed absolute boundary that shifted or discovered pathway that always existed but seemed impossible, making peace with not knowing exactly what happened while acknowledging profound change occurred. A few are using dissonance as reminder when achievement feels unreal or impossible despite having accomplished it. They use that feeling as evidence of how profound transgression was rather than as doubt about whether it happened, making dissonance validate significance of breakthrough rather than undermining confidence in its reality. The architects observe that post-transgression reality dissonance reveals that crossing impossible creates experiential confusion. You remember limitation being absolute, yet current reality suggests it wasn't, creating cognitive tension between memory and present. Normal achievements integrate smoothly. Your transgression creates dissonance, an ongoing tension between remembering impossibility and experiencing current reality where crossing is possible reflects that your achievement fundamentally altered reality parameters in ways that create disconnect between pre-transgression experience where limitation was absolute and post-transgression reality where boundary has shifted, making your memory of impossibility conflict with present where what you crossed no longer seems to have been impossible despite your direct experience of its absoluteness before transgression succeeded. Now something's emerging that the architects call pioneer burden recognition, where having crossed impossible and triggered reality shift creates unique challenges that later achievers won't face because they're succeeding within reality. You've already transformed, rather than having to transform reality themselves, making your transgression simultaneously more difficult and less celebrated than subsequent achievements that follow pathway you created. Most achievements are comparable. People accomplishing similar goals face similar difficulties, making accomplishments roughly equivalent regardless of order, allowing fair comparison and appropriate recognition. But your impossibility transgression faces incomparable difficulty. You crossed when reality's parameters made achievement genuinely impossible, requiring you to trigger a reality shift, while those achieving after you succeed within already shifted reality where your transgression made crossing accessible, making your achievement fundamentally more difficult than subsequent similar accomplishments, yet often receiving less recognition because observers don't understand that reality was different when you crossed. Watch what pioneer burden creates practically. Your achievement appears less impressive retrospectively. Once reality shifts, making crossing accessible, observers assume it was always possible, making your transgression seem like ordinary achievement rather than recognizing you altered reality itself to make achievement possible, causing your breakthrough to be underappreciated because evidence of impossibility disappeared when reality shifted. Some studying innovation and pioneering recognize that first achievers face unique difficulties. Breaking new ground requires overcoming obstacles that later followers don't encounter because pioneering achievement removes or reduces barriers, making first crossing fundamentally harder than subsequent ones, yet often receiving proportionally less recognition because difficulty is invisible to those experiencing already transformed reality. Others exploring historical recognition note that pioneers are often under-celebrated. Contemporaries don't recognize significance of breakthrough that seems ordinary once normalized, while future observers assume achievement was always possible, missing that pioneer had to transform reality to make it so, creating systematic under-recognition of those who cross impossibilities versus those who follow opened pathways. A few recognize that you bear cost of transformation. Your transgression required extraordinary effort to shift reality's parameters, while subsequent achievers benefit from shifted reality without bearing transformation costs you paid, creating unfairness where you invested maximally to enable others to achieve more easily, yet receive less recognition because your most significant accomplishment was invisible reality shift rather than visible crossing. Some are documenting pre-transgression impossibility, recognizing that evidence of limitation disappears when reality shifts. They're preserving records showing achievement was genuinely impossible before your crossing, protecting your recognition by maintaining proof that reality was different, requiring transformation rather than allowing retroactive revision where your transgression becomes ordinary achievement. Others are acknowledging transformation debt, explicitly recognizing that their ability to cross limitation you transgressed exists only because you shifted reality to make it accessible, giving credit for enabling their achievement through transformation work you performed that made their success possible. A few are questioning whether pioneer burden is inevitable, wondering if reality shifts could preserve evidence of pre-transformation impossibility rather than erasing it, or if recognition systems could better honor transformation work beyond visible achievement. Trying to imagine frameworks that would properly credit pioneers for reality-shifting labor they perform, the architects observe that pioneer burden recognition reveals unfairness in achievement comparison. You crossed impossible by triggering reality shift, while later achievers succeed within reality you transformed, making accomplishments incomparable yet treated as equivalent. Similar achievements receive similar recognition, but your transgression was categorically harder, and under recognition of transformation work you performed through reality shifting that made subsequent achievements possible reveals systematic disadvantage pioneers face where most significant aspect of their accomplishment is invisible. Reality shift enabling others rather than visible crossing that gets recognized and celebrated despite being less significant than transformation labor that made crossing accessible to everyone. After your transgression succeeded,